TrainMaster04 here. Sorry, I had to make a quick camera rotation change. In this case, right now, I have it set up so that viewing of all of the work I'll be doing tonight, dadgummit, there you go. Tonight will be over at the Workbench. Now, something that I did talk about last time was basically working on, well, just being able to work on some stuff. And thanks to some of the viewers, I was able to go ahead and get the idea of being able to just have it over here and at the same time be a little bit more manageable in the sense of sleight of hand, so to speak, and having everything right around in this area and still be able to be managing everything else. Let's see. In today's evening, I will be going over a few things, a few new updates that have come around that have been fairly exciting. In this case, the first biggest news being the Sunset Third Rail catalog. I have yet to do a video on the winter edition of, or in this case, the spring of 2026 catalog, even though it came out a couple days ago, the 26th of December. I figured I would just go ahead and talk about it, since there is a lot of interesting stuff, and a lot of new and quite interesting stuff that, to be honest, is definitely going to give Lionel a bit of a run for their money. I know lately I have been the proprietor of stating that Lionel is all bad, but to be honest, they are not completely. It just seems that way as of now, especially since things have the tendency to go AWOL. But overall, so far, things have been fairly tamed for the most part, which is a bit of a long shot. But basically, in the Sunset Third Rail catalog, I've got too many projects as of now that nothing too extravagant will be coming from it unless something changes along the way. But the only thing that I would be interested in would be the Third Rail Grizzly A3 or A1A3 Pacifics. In this case, they are all going to be the Flying Scotsman. I do actually own a model of the Scotsman. In this case, it is a Hattons by Helgen model that I imported over from Hattons when they were still around. Unfortunately, they have been entirely absorbed by Rails of Sheffield due to them finally closing a few years ago. But before they did, they had a wonderful sale on their two-rail locomotives, and that ended up being quite a haul for me since I've always wanted a Scotsman, and really nobody makes them in O gauge, especially over here in the US, unless it is somebody special like Third Rail. So I'm definitely interested in that, and most specifically the American version, or the USA Tour. The fabled USA Tour that happened between 1969 and what was that, 1971, 72. So in that case, it ended up being quite prevalent, and especially from where I live, in the winter of 69 to 70, the Flying Scotsman found itself actually being laid to winter rest over in the Santa Fe Roundhouse there in Slayton. And as a result, there, from my local area, there is a ton of unknown information about her time here, and I've been able to actually collect a few of the items that, and information from the Scotsman himself, excuse me, I'm about to get ransacked if I say her, himself. Specifically, I was able to grab over this Thanksgiving a stamped tin medal that has actually been made from England from a former Santa Fe Maintenance Away member. He was working for the Santa Fe at the same time that excuse me, I'm going to do it again. He was on with the Santa Fe, and the Scotsman was over here in Slayton, and he was able to pick up a few things from there. And we also had a gentleman who was kind enough to go and sign my shipping box for my Hatton's model of the Scotsman. And this gentleman, the reason why I had him sign it is he actually volunteered on the Scotsman for quite some time. He and some fellow modelers came down south here to Texas when she was resting and was able to get never before seen photographs of the Scotsman when he ran through Texas. So there's photos of when he accidentally derailed in Waco, Texas. The Katy actually was the ones that re-railed him. In this case, it wasn't much. It was just the rear pilot wheel or rear trailing wheel that came off on a switch, and they just took a heavy-duty road rail truck that had a crane attached to its bed and just uncoupled the tender, lifted it up, and simply put it back onto the rails. It's actually quite an interesting photo, and if anybody is familiar with the Magnolia program or or Chip and Joanna, oh, I'm blanking out on their names, but Chip and JoJo with Fixer Upper, they have their silos, their grain silos downtown Waco, and funny enough, you can actually see those said grain elevators in the background of Scotsman. So I thought that was quite interesting. Something that has stood there forever is now considered a tourist attraction. And there he was sitting in the yard in 1970. So definitely some interesting stuff. And the Slayton Harvey house has been grateful enough to have a little display because the Scotsman pulled in front of the Harvey house um, and was there for a final hoorah, so to speak, to Slayton before he went off and started rolling off to his next destination, which would have been through Post and into Abilene and into the Dallas-Fort Worth area, if I remember correctly, along with Waco, where he accidentally derailed. But the gentleman that signed my box was able to get so many photos that are just so cool and never been seen before. And what really makes it even cooler is the Unlucky Tug, when he did his video on the Scotsman's tour. Great video. He was always, there would be mentions of where there is no photos found of this derailment, or there'd be no photos of it being here, and yet there actually is. It's just, it hadn't been published in a book yet, and it's been wonderful to be actually have some say and be like, hey, I actually know where this is at, and I actually have some info. But enough of that. I thought that the Sunset Third Rail catalog was very interesting, and I hope to be able to do a video on my my British A3 Flying Scotsman that I've converted over to 3-rail, from 2-rail to 3-rail. Hopefully it will be something possible, but I've got other plans in the making. Hello, Red Dead. How are you doing tonight? Yes, it was real interesting. So, with the cow catcher, so that was something else. That reminds me. So if you look at photos, there's a certain point. The Scotsman started with a red cow catcher, and then around, if I remember correctly, it was St. Louis, it was changed over to black. And going back to Unlucky Tug, he stated that there is no information out there that actually states why in the world Alan Pegler and the Scotsman crew went ahead and repainted it. Well, actually there is. And this is, again, back to the gentleman who signed my locomotive box. His friend, the president of the Model Railroad Club that they were sponsoring, he went and spoke to Alan Pegler, which by this time had actually become fairly well acquainted, because they had stayed over here in Texas and guarded the Scotsman and Slayton as they were getting things up and going. So they actually slept on the excursion cars that that Scotsman pulled. And the friend or president of the club talked to Alan Pegler and said, you know, I think it would look a whole lot better if that cow catcher was painted black instead of red. And I mean, the fact that that actually happened still baffles me to this very day, because I mean, there's not a lot of things that happen in my area, but when they do, my gosh, do they end up blowing up like crazy. So you just never know what you're gonna find. But hopefully more things like that can come out in the future. Who knows? Maybe I'll make a video filling in the gaps of the Scotsman's USA tour. I did get a new editing software on my laptop, a better laptop actually, that has a whole lot nicer features and is able to process things a whole lot nicer than what I was working with before. So hopefully I'll be able to do some more ambitious videos instead of being limited to my software. But beyond that, the Sunset Third Rail catalog, great stuff. I can't wait to go and be able to see what they come out, especially considering that really they are very much trying to be a part of the community. For instance, Joker's Trains, I'm a part of his Discord channel now, not as just as a member, so you can probably find me floating around there every once in a while. And really, Jay at Sunset Third Rail has been a very, very active individual, not for marketing, but just genuinely talking and just farting around, so to speak, just communicating with the hobby. And in retrospect, you would never see that from any of the bigwigs, the bigwigs of the hobby, which is sad to say, but you know, I'm not here to complain. I'm here to have trains and also help you all out in y'all's journey into the field of O-gauge trains. So, let's get into something else. As you all know, this is post-Christmas, and as usual, there are some form or fashion of Christmas items that have come forth. And in this case, one of the coolest items that I was grateful to be gifted this year was this MTH reefer. Now, it is a steel-sided Rail King reefer. I don't exactly know the date. I haven't looked at the box to see if there was a date, and since MTH is much nicer in the sense of not plastering the build date on the side of the car, but instead tries to keep it as prototypical as possible, did so, and I cannot find a date. And I have not done my research based on the product number, so forgive me. But it really is a nice car. When I first saw this on trains.com, I was like, oh my goodness, they produced a fishing reefer. It's not technically a billboard reefer because billboards are defined as having the advertisement go over the doors, and since this one does it, it's technically not a billboard reefer, but that's fluffy details. But it really is a nice car. The doors are a bit difficult to open, but they are sprung loaded and actually do open, so that is a nice little feature. And it just really doesn't... I've never seen this before. My grandfather was a great, crazy fisherman. For anybody out there that does topwater bass fishing, may be familiar with the Zara spook that Hedden produces. My grandfather was actually the one who made that. Not Unfortunately, he held the patent for it for a year, but being a father of two at that time, struggling with work, and being told by every major manufacturer that this lure will not sell, he ended up letting the patent lapse. And based on his word, which today would be hearsay, so since he is no longer with my family, Hedden pulled his signature off the original patent and put it on the lures, and aptly named it Zara Spooks, because he originally called it the Zara Spook. They just followed suit with it and used his signature. And thankfully, I do have an original, one of the early Zara Spooks that he has, one of the early plastic ones, and he actually put his signature on it with a pen. And I've matched it up with modern heritage spooks, and it is exactly the same. And you just cannot replicate a signature. But anyway, because of that, this is definitely going to be a cherished item amongst my fleet, because with the fishing connection within my family and it just being such a cool car, it's just not going to go anywhere. A few other things. I was able to get me some Bar Mills Scale Works signage. May do a live stream of me putting this together. In this case, it's one of their older kits for Railway Express Agency, and I thought this is going to be so cool to put it on top of the station, especially with this black roof. Maybe I'll have to either mount it, either offset from the molding on the top, or I'll trim some of the molding to fit the sign base itself. So we'll definitely see what will happen, and maybe I'll do that in a live stream. We'll just see how that goes. But beyond that, project-wise, the Madam Queen has been completed. I still have a few rough fittings that I need to complete on it. I need to clean its wheels, install the 9-volt battery, keep alive setup. That's why I've got it out here. Finish its auxiliary water tender, and reattach the antenna, because that just came off tonight, unfortunately, as I was doing a test run. One of the other big items I was graciously given for Christmas this year was a K-Line aluminum Denver and Rio Grande uh, California Zephyr not observation car, but dome car. Well, not the full length, but the standard dome car, named the Silver Mustang. Again, another just mind-blowing car. It's great looking in person. But let's get into weathering tonight, shall we? If I can remember where I put my cup. There it is. Oh, there we go. So in this case, I figured tonight would be a fun time weathering in this case, a tank car, just for about an hour or so, since today's been not the most apt day, but still, every day is a blessing, so I shall take it. So, how is everyone doing tonight? So far, the chat hasn't been blowing up, so I'm actually quite grateful, considering the last stream I did, that was a heyday, an evening of uniqueness, and me turning my back around and seeing that, oh, it's gone AWOL. So, we'll see what happens tonight, but it is a nice surprise, considering. But usual as the usual thing goes, start with the local grime and go from there. First, I gotta grab my paintbrush. I forgot that. Looks like I'm still a little out of shot. Here we go. Much better. There we go. Now y'all can see, instead of just seeing the top of my head because I'm leaning over, now you can actually see the entire car. Watch me spill this bottle. I've done that before for one of the bottles, and that was not fun. Where'd my tissue go? Did I put it in my pocket? No, I didn't. Okay, I'll just grab one from underneath the layout, which, finally, update on the layout. I was actually able to get the main line back up and running. Hooray! The main line, for any of those of you out there know from a few of my other live streams, has been out of commission because I was redoing the part of the layout that goes from the coal mine straight back down to ground level, or at least tabletop level in this case, because the gradient going up loops upon itself twice. It forced me to create a straight shot down with very little room for any kind of re-looping or gradual working around, and as such, I just simply did a single straight shot from the top end of 10 inches all the way straight down. And at the time, that was fine for operations because that got trains back down so quickly. But that's the thing, it went down too quickly. And because of that, that ended up causing problems with locomotives, and also it's just not good on the motors at all. I may be able to pull a good decent sized train, but not be able to really control it because, well, it's enters the roller coaster, as I aptly named it, because it really was. It shoots straight down, especially post-war engines, shoot straight down from the top end of the mountain, and it'd go straight into an 036 curve, which 36-inch radius curves is not the shortest, but it's still not the prettiest. Just like this tank car is going to probably be looking like, hopefully. Kind of give it a little parting line. I feel like, again, Bob Ross. Where's it, Bob Golf? No, I'm thinking of the wrong person. There's too many Bobs that I know of. Mercy, chat is very quiet tonight, or my computer hasn't reloaded, so I may just need to reload that. Not too shabby. Uh, for those who have just joined us, welcome to Madam Queen Monday, as I would aptly like to call it tonight. And pretty much because, well, lately I've been working on my Madam Queen project, which hopefully, uh, upon Will 2926's hopes, will be a full-fledged video coming out soon on, well, sooner than later. We'll just have to see. On how in the world I actually built my model of the Madam Queen in extent detail, because he is really wanting a Madam Queen. He may actually be able to come down into my territory. So if he does, I may just have to show him it in person maybe. So we'll have to see about that. And it looks like this stuff is dried. I'm probably going to have to get some paint thinner to help this bottle out, or get a brand new bottle. But it's still got a lot of good stuff in it, so I'll probably just need to get the bottle of paint thinner. Oh, hello, LMR. How are you doing today, my friend? Good, I hope. Hope I don't run you off too quickly with all this big O gauge. And about you, Red Dead, if you're still out there, I could not help but notice your MTH Wild Wild West, the Will Smith version locomotive. That I mean, they're a dime a dozen. I'll have to be honest, but I've never actually seen one. Took the time to look up a video of it running, and I ought to admit, MTH did a fairly good job. Though it's the same tooling that they've been using for the General all the time for many years, it still has a pretty good smoke unit in it, and is actually really good. So I'm glad to see somebody's got one and is sharing some good love with it, because I think they're kind of underappreciated, especially with the era of, how should I put it, things being more expensive and lower quality, especially for what you expect and are told and you should be receiving. Um, Kit bashing, I think, really needs to be more prevalent, because you can easily spend a third of what you could get from a standard manufacturer and still highly likely end up with a better product, a much more quality product. Yes, yet more time cost, yes, but still you have control of said quality. So in that retrospect, you could do whatever you want with it and still be on top price wise. So far, that's where it's looking like for my Madam Queen, which would have ended up close to a $1,700 locomotive had it been made by, say, Lionel's, which still holds the tooling for the 5011 class, which my Queen is based off of, the 5011 class MTH model that I kit bashed into what it is today. Yeah, that's a nice little mallet. The sounds are quite nice on it. Seeing your YouTube short videos, yeah, every once in a while it makes me think maybe I ought to get a small articulated locomotive. I know where to get one. Sadly, it's probably never seen the light of day where it's coming from, but that's how it goes, unfortunately. But then I look back at my credit card statement and I'm like, yeah, I better not. I got a lot. I went too far and too strong on projects this end of the year, so the new year is going to be very quiet. But I've been doing fine, my friend. I've been doing fine, just trying to stay alive, pay off these projects that I've went and become too ambitious with, but with success. Sold off some few things. I've got some railroad plates for sale on Joker's Discord, and so far just trying to be chill and hang on for dear life, and not kill myself at the same time. Yes, the 19th century Victorian era stuff. Uh, I think the last time I got to see one of those generals Red Dead in person was at the Bryson City, North Carolina Model Railroad Museum at the Great Smoky Mountains Railroad. Um, that was probably the last time, and ironically, my friend who lends me his locomotives, he did get some ET44s, so from Lionel, the new one. So I may or may not do a review on that. Diesel's modern stuff is hard for me because how I structured my videos with the history segment and whatnot, and still be able to produce time for it, sometimes gets a little difficult for me to just wrap around in my brain, if you know what I mean. So sometimes, for instance, he has a set of, what are those, E7s, E8? I think they're, I want to say they're E7s. E7 Southern Pacific Larks, an ABB setup from Lionel. And I ended up having him for about a year because I kept on retaking after retakes on segments because I just couldn't get my head wrapped around the darn thing. And this also being a time when I didn't use scripts for my videos. Another reason why videos now take a little longer since I'm making them with scripts. It just took me forever. But anyway, my friend, getting back to him, um, he actually is from Bryson City, and when I first met him, thanks to my father, my dad forgot to tell me that he was from Bryson City, so I'm there one day talking to him, and I'm mentioning how we had just gotten back from this mountain town, and we just got ourselves had a great time enjoying the museums, talking about this, and he just like, yeah, I know where that's at. I've been there. I knew the guys who built it, and I'm like, oh, awkward, but it was really funny to find out. And I got to go back. When was that? That would have been 20. Oops, there went my brake wheel. 2023 was probably the last time I went, and that was a fun time. The museum hadn't changed at all. They still got running water for a waterfall scene, and I would definitely highly recommend visiting because that museum is filled to the brim of model trains, specifically O-Gauge Lionel from the Richard Kuhn era and early 2000s. So a lot of modern stuff, but nonetheless very cool. And there's an entire separate collection, not from this one guy that did all the O-Gauge, but a different individual, and it's tinplate, all pre-war tinplate stuff, even some what you call it, McCoy, that's it, McCoy tinplate. Bit of an off-brand that not a lot of people know. I don't say off-brand in the sense that it's not the name brand or anything. It's just an obscure name. That's it. That's a better word. An obscure brand name, and not a lot of people actually either know about it, heard about it, or even pay any mind to it. Let's see. Better get you up on the chat now that I've got, oh gosh, alrighty, 52 people. Lord have mercy on my soul. Hello, Rainier. Yes, Wreck of the Old 98 kind of territory. And then hello, Matt. Hopefully I've caught up. And then Red Dead. That's MTH for you. Old PS1 smoke units and PS2 are just crazy. I would dare say try JT's Mega Steam, but that's considered the top of the line. I'm going to smoke out the entire room volume smoke fluid even more than MTH, and combine that with the early PS1 smoke units. I got a feeling you'll end up breaking the record of 5 minutes and turn it into 2 seconds. So Oops, just accidentally hit the camera. Sorry about that, folks. So I have a feeling if you end up getting some, which they do have some very nice scents. They've got everything from Red Hots. It smells just like the candy, and I've been going crazy for it lately. It's become my new favorite. Well, no, my favorite scent is Big Boy, the premium blend, which really smells a lot more like coal soot and cinders than compared to their actual coal smoke and cinders. Ironically, and then the second one would be Red Hots. I don't know why. Just I never liked the candy, yet here I am enjoying the smell of it, which is crazy. Pina Colada, ended up getting one of those from my friend at the local shop, train shop. My gosh, I think I ended up getting rid of it at one point. They've got bacon grease, coffee, grandpa's pipe tobacco, or tobacco pipe, you name it, they've got it. Burning fireplace oak. So you could just think about it. Anything. Well, that's good, Dizzy. Not Dizzy, Diz. Oh, goodness. You use JT Megasteam. Oh, gosh. Oh. I've never seen the orange scented smoke. Now that you mentioned that's what you use, Red Dead, I've never seen it up at my local shop. Um, Now you got me curious, dadgummit, because I do like a nice citrus smell. Um, I would dare say lemons, but lemons we actually created. So life didn't give us lemons; we gave ourselves lemons. So let that be food for your brain. Um, Actually, that's turning out quite nice. So, as usual, making a mess of myself on my hands, but what's new? Thank you, Christopher. I appreciate it. Um, oh, dadgummit, my brush got away with me again. Oh well, I'll just wipe that up. Um, and then do some blending. But let's see. The new year, new year. Cannot believe it's already that time again, but then again, I always remind myself it's only a week after Christmas, and here we are almost a week after Christmas. Uh, any plans for anybody out there still watching this crazy man talk about trains and other nonsense? For myself, just pretty much just the same stuff. Try to get as much work I can on the layout while not killing myself in the sense of school, since I'll be again getting into that very soon, going back into the brunt of it with more classes that have more math than I ever want to do in my lifetime, yet here I am doing a degree plan full to the brim of math. The irony exudes itself to the pinnacle. But here I am still. In the case of the layouts, definitely more scenery work will definitely be needed. I got myself resin products for the river in my Red Mountain Canyon, my narrow gauge canyon. Oh, yes, good deal, Red Dead, good deal. The Durango is wonderful, but I would suggest taking the bus back. I know that is a bit of a bummer to say, especially from a train guy, but I rode the train to and from. And if you want to see anything in Durango the same day, take the train up from Durango to Silverton and then take the bus back, because you will be so worn out after that trip just going up and back via the train. It takes, I think, an hour and a half via bus, but it takes about 2 or 3 hours with an hour layover in Silverton to just get up and down. So that ends up being what, about 5 or 6 hours, give or take delays and whatnot. So I would most definitely suggest taking the bus back. That, ooh. I especially wrote. I did go ahead and pay for the cab ride, which that was interesting, a little lackluster, but it was definitely interesting in the sense that, well, you do get yourself your own set of overalls, hat, gloves, ear protection, and eye protection. But in my case, since I wear glasses, I didn't need the eye protection whatsoever. Um, but you really only get to be able to either sit on their built-in, uh, what I presume used to be their one of a tool chest in the DNRGW days, is now a icebox, part icebox and storage locker, foot locker for the crews. And you can either sit there or stand up the entire 2 hours. And then when you get a water stop at Needleton, I think, uh, excuse me, I'm reading chat and seeing what Red Dead says. Um, if I remember correctly, it was fun, but you didn't really get to blow the whistle. You really didn't get to do much other than ride up the train, which is great because um, you get the front eye view of it, and it ended up being a double header that day with a K28 and a K36 engine number. Give me a sec. 476 and 482. Um, that was a great trip. My gosh. Unfortunately, at that time when I did go, they had only 480 left. That was a coal burner, and then later that winter, they converted it over to oil and gave its last hoorah. And they weren't running 480 that day. They had her over behind the roundhouse, uh, stored away. Had tarps over its headlamp and whatnot. Made it really look dilapidated, which was kind of funky in my opinion. But you know, let's see. Hello, Wyatt. Um, yes, the Y. Yes, I do remember that. That's the express train they do for the short time journeys. Well, if you ever get to go and do the full trip, I would definitely recommend what I just stated, because you will be very sore. Well, not sore, but definitely sore on time. Um, I actually, speaking of narrow gauge, I may actually be able to go and work on the Cumbres and Toltec for a month and a half or so this coming summer. Last August, I went up there for their 100th anniversary. Yes, potential safety liability, since that was the cool thing. So I was able to ride in the cab of the only all female crew, train operating crew, fireman and engineer. And funny enough, the engineer, so we were in the back in 482, and 476 was up front, the lead engine, and the engineer for the lead engine was the husband of my engineer. So watching them just communicate with their own little sign language, so to speak, or hand signals, and how they'd get each other's attention with the whistle, and not even use radios. I mean, yes, they have radios because that's how they clear, how brakemen along the train and conductors communicate with the engine crew to let them know they can highball, or in this case, maximum authorized speed through a certain block section, because they use block systems instead of signaling and train orders. Uh, they typically would give them to those. They would typically have copies of the train orders and speed restrictions and what blocks they're supposed to be in and whatnot. But unfortunately, they didn't have a copy for me that day, so I only got to view the official copy. And still, yet again, very cool. But since they are very much a legitimate railroad where they have almost, from my opinion, class one standard safety, just with vintage equipment from the well, yeah, actually Victorian era, late Victorian era into the early 1900s. It very much was impressive. Let's just put it that way. And safety, oh my gosh, safety upon safety. Um, definitely do not want to get on the state's bad side, especially after their fires from a few years ago, forcing them to even go to oil burning these days. Um, yes, that is the Polar Express. I've actually got it over here on the main line right now. I need to get it boxed back up and sent back to my friend. Uh, I have it over here as I had filmed this year's Christmas video, which I found itself being very fun because it was the first video to use my new editing software for. Um, it ended up being pretty cool, and I currently do have it up available on my YouTube right now, so it's up for anybody to watch. It's only 7 minutes long, I think, is what it ended up being, but yeah, the Polar Express is in there with the Lionel Plasma Blue Polar Express version, not the maroon or even the standard black with gold lettering. But Lionel, I will admit, did a good job on these passenger cars. There were a few hiccups, but they did a very good job. Which is when they do it right, it's that's the thing with Lionel. When they do things right, they do it right. But when they don't and they keep not listening to the community and keep trying to gaslight us, that's when we get really upset. But back to Chama. So went up there last August for the K36 100th anniversary. Um, Wonderful time. Everybody up there, I was surprised at how many people are actually from Texas, and I had to actually stop myself from explaining where in the world I live because hardly anybody knows where I even live. Um, Good for you. Um, and every time I try to explain it, they'd be like, "Oh yeah, I passed by through there. I used to live there," and I'm like, "Dadgummit, now I sound ignorant." Um, but it was a great time. And they actually invited me to come out for a month or two in the summer and work with them. So I'm going to probably highly likely do that. I still want to have time for myself to recover since I have health problems, and 2.5, 3 months of nonstop college work does take a toll on me. So it won't be the entire summer. But unfortunately, that's just the card I've been dealt. Nothing wrong with it, but that's just how it goes. Um, but I'll definitely throw my hat out there. I don't know exactly what they'll do. I know it will definitely be determined based on what time I can allocate to being out there. The more time means they can probably put me in the machine shop, say more than 3 months maybe. So it'll probably be either an engine. I would hope it would be engine maintenance, but it'll highly likely be a brakeman, which is still fine. I'll be with the trains and still be able to go up Cumbres pass and back through Osier and down into what you call it. Dadgummit, Chama, New Mexico, and Antonito. Sorry, man, I can't think tonight. But anyway, it turned out pretty good. It was so much fun. We only went up to the pass and back, so it was a 3-hour trip, but we had engine number 487 pulling us today. She was one of the 2 oil burners that they got converted over, but they had 484 and 484 and 488. Yes, 487, 488, 484. I'm missing one. I'm missing one. Dadgummit, it's going to bother me for the rest of the night because I can't think of it. Oh, you know what? Let's just Google it. For goodness sakes. I guess I haven't recovered from 2.5 months of nonstop school. Let's see. Cumbres. And I can't spell. 484, 87, 88, 89, 63. There we go. Except 89's... No, she's... Oh, 483. How can I forget about 483? She was there as well. They had just finished repainting her. It is confirmed she's never going to run again, as she is just so worn out. They definitely used her a lot when they were trying to get the railroad up and going. So, yeah, it's a shame, but at some point we all need to come to fruition that these engines are 100 years old, and at some point in time they're not going to be able to keep doing and surviving as long as they have. And there's going to be a point in time that, well, sadly, there is nothing else we can do to keep them happy and running. So at least they have repainted her cosmetically, restored her to good-looking conditions, so she will be well protected and maintained. It's not like they're going to be leaving her out in the well, they are leaving her out in the elements, but it's not like they're going to be leaving her out in the elements and never ever go and give her a cosmetic restoration to give her some protection whatsoever. Oh gosh. Thank you, Terra Rank. I just finally looked it up. Sorry. Sherry, it's just a tank car. Tank car me that I'm weathering. Ooh, Railtown 1897. Oh, man. Yeah, that would be fun. Go out to the Sierra Railway. Ah, man, that engine has made so many memories. I mean, as you stated, it made a stint in the Wild Wild West TV show. I mean, it was in Petticoat Junction as the Hooterville Cannonball. My gosh, it was in, of course, Back to the Future 3, where a lot of people saw it. Was the whistle for Polar Express. That's the sound file they used before her whistle was actually rebuilt by Rizzoli Whistle Works or Locomotive Works, however they just whatever their name is nowadays. What else? I mean, endless stuff that they did with that engine, and just again, one of those locomotives that you can never tell and never know what's going to happen to it in the future. And yet here she is. She was at the right place at the right time, happened to be well beloved by movie producers, and just happened to be great. Oh, Casey Jones, the TV series. My gosh, how can I forget about Casey Jones? Another one of my fan favorite shows, Casey Jones. I think he was in a few Beverly Hillbillies as well, since Beverly Hillbillies, Green Acres, what else? And then no, not Beverly Hillbillies. Petticoat Junction were all canon together. They were all in the same universe. I always thought that was funny. That's why they were able to get a few of the same actors to play different characters, or as cousins or sisters, relatives and whatnot. No, yes, I agree, that would be fun. Another place you'd probably enjoy would be the Nevada Northern Railway. They've been going through some heartaches lately with all three of their locomotives still out of service, last I heard. 40's going to be a pain in the rear for a while now, because, well, she's been going under restoration for a while now. And 81 suffered a front pilot problems. And then 93's got bearing problems still. They were dealing with bearing problems when I went out there last, which is crazy. And that was when I was going on 4 years now. So hope they get somewhere. But they have a wonderful hands-on program. That's what I was able to do, and that was fun. They were very nice out there. Relaxed. I got to meet Dirt. He was still alive at that time. When I heard about his passing, I thought that was very sad. Even DJ got to meet Dirt Jr. Blessed cats, as my friend would say. But let's add some rust. Rust down this band of rivets. And this will probably be the last thing I'll do for tonight because I haven't eaten just yet for supper and it is going on close to 8 o'clock my time. So I figured do an hour with spending with you guys. I hope you've enjoyed doing these kinds of videos. Lately it's been getting a little harder to do product reviews because of all of these price increases, and also I've made a few big projects as well. So if you would definitely enjoy this kind of content, please definitely consider subscribing, as that would help increase the outreach of my channel. And liking as well, that lets me know that you would like to see some more of this kind of content. I don't do the live streams very often, but I definitely would like to know what my audience is wanting the most, because I don't want to produce something that no one's going to watch and try to irritate anybody. Specifically myself at days. Okay. Set you over so I don't knock you over. No, I'm nowhere close to Wisconsin. Sorry, I'm way further south than that. I am way further south than that, unfortunately. It's still cold, but it ain't as cold as what Wisconsin's doing right now, getting blasted by the sudden change of of our jet stream in the northern hemisphere. Further northern hemisphere, actually. Yeah, I would imagine it's a lot of snow. Whew, gosh almighty. If we get lucky to get 2 inches of snow, our entire town shuts down. So that just goes to show we aren't used to snow whatsoever. And I think I need to readjust my paper. No, my Kleenex. There we go. There we go. Now I'm getting cleaner straight lines. Sometimes my hands just don't want to work with me, and they just scramble the rust, and so that's where the big paintbrush comes in, and it blends it all in. See? There are no accidents with this. Nature is, well, it didn't happen by pure accident, but yeah, that's not too bad. It's not strong. Yes, they do. Red Dead. It is oh, nuts! I can't remember the name. I can't remember the engine number of that 460. If I remember correctly, it was actually going on loan. It was on loan by the Cumbres. I can't remember if it was going back not too long after I left or what. They've got two 460s, 168 and 346, I want to say is its number. Oh, gosh, I can't remember. I took a photo of it, I know that much, and I can see it in my head. It was in the single stall of the roundhouse off to the side. Or actually, it was the two-stall wooden portion of the roundhouse, and I just cannot for the life of me remember its number. Then again, I have slept in between then and that trip, and goodness, that was some trip. Oh, that's that. Splooched the rust. Oh well. And let's just make that a short rust streak. How about that? Yeah, the handshaking's just, yeah. Ah, don't you love it when they just deteriorate like that? There's a number of engines I don't have I have a mental list of what it does and of what locomotives to stay away from, and yeah, there's some good ones out there that just have that zinc rot and just go to utter garbage. And everybody keeps trying to find ways to fix them, like with resin, reproducing them all together, super gluing them, but they just keep progressing. That zinc rot just keeps progressing. I know for the 1937 through 42, yes, even though World War II started, Lionel did have some of these engines in 1942. They were on the production line. 700E Hudsons. The castings, the early castings, specifically the 37s, were prone to zinc rot, specifically the cylinders, the most, due to the foundry workers who did all the casting, the metal casting work, actually decided to throw their cigarette ends into the pot of molten metal, and that deformed the metal. It made it, it changed its form, its chemical composure, and ended up making it cause well, the zinc rot over time, and you never know if it's going to happen or not. Um, oh gosh, fixing them. Oh, mechanical. Oh, I'll get back to that in a sec. Yes, RGS 20 did go out, but it wasn't out there. It was still at Golden when I was at Cumbres, Red Dead. That was no, she was still in she no, it wasn't 20. 20 wasn't out there just yet. Um ooh. I mean, mechanical smoke units, well, they're plunger based. If you don't, if the lever isn't properly seated, then it's not gonna work. Of course, it's not gonna work. Um, Honestly, my best advice would be to go online. I would imagine eBay's got some. Go online, um, and find some conversion kits. So instead of having smoke pellets, find a smoke fluid conversion kit, because even though smoke pellets are still being remanufactured to this very day, um, they the mechanical smoke units, especially with smoke pellets, have the tendency to crystallize and build up, because that's the nature of the compound of what makes those smoke pellets. And Lionel provided in their maintenance kits a little wooden dowel plunger that was the same, that had the end of the same diameter as the chimney or smokestack, but over time you eventually have to open up the entire locomotive and clean it out with Q-tips and some rubbing alcohol. And over time, also the heating elements burn out, because it's just a little wire wrapped around some fabric material that, when a current passes through it off of the E unit, which is the reversing unit, eventually they just burn out. It's like a light bulb filament. Eventually it's just going to burn out. So my advice, unfortunately, would be just to go and find a conversion kit, replace it with a smoke fluid version. So you can get bottles of smoke fluid for like $3 or $5, depending on who you get it from and what company. You won't ever have to deal with any kind of crystallization ever again. And most importantly, it would be a brand new smoke unit. New mechanics, new um, heating element, new padding. In this case, it would be a fiberglass pad. So you won't have to worry about deterioration and trying to work with what you got as well as you can. Um, and you also got to hope the linkage is all there, especially since that linkage is based on the side rods, specifically the crosshead. If the if the eccentric crank and the eccentric side rod is not attached or is missing, then highly likely you're not going to get a working smoke unit, because the lever for that said smoke unit comes around and sticks out in between the crosshead, and then the slide valve will come in and push it, and mechanically you push the plunger upward and create the jettison of smoke. Um, what the heck? Carbon fiber. My goodness. Um, now you got me interested. Uh, 23 TrainMaster Studio. Yes, I do have a cup. I actually have two 440s. I'd get one of them. I'd get them out, but I've got my hands all coated in my weathering product, and also I've come up to an hour, and that's basically my limit for self limit, and also personal limit when it comes to live streams, because I like to have my social life as well. And since it is 8 o'clock my time, it gets very late very quickly. Um, yes, you can use the smoke fluid in the older post-war stuff. Give me a second. I'm gonna grab a towel to wipe my hands on so I don't track it off everywhere. You can, but it's not recommended, because it would highly likely it will end up leaking out through the bottom end and past the plunger, because the plunger has a small hole for the air to pass through. But if there's enough wicking around the electrical wire, the heating element, then you should be fine. But you're going to be burning through smoke fluid like crazy, because it's instantly vaporizing and not being well collected. Uh, I would imagine somewhere online, such as some of the forums, would probably, like the OGR forum, will have some information if you just do a general search. Um, yeah, yeah. You can, like I said, you can still find smoke pellets. That's what your smoke unit is designed for, smoke pellets, not smoke fluid. So if it works with smoke pellets, then yeah. But again, I'd probably highly suggest doing a smoke unit conversion from smoke pellet to smoke fluid, because it will end up working better in the long run, and you'll not be burning out so much smoke fluid. But beyond that, maybe next time I will have some more news in the sense of projects on the layouts. Hopefully, I will get another product review out. In this case, it's actually going to be a comparison video. I've been working on this video since last summer, and I'm now finally getting the time to actually do the recordings for it. I've also got got a Commodore Vanderbilt in the tin plate red. That can be seen in my recent Christmas video. Please definitely go check out that video for reference. That will highly likely be the next product review, but I do have a video I want to make on my Madam Queen, on how I made it, what details I was able to produce on it, and basically just show you all what I've been doing for the last 3 months, and all the other wonderful craziness that's happening over here. But anyway, that is pretty much it for tonight. This has been, based on the numbers, has actually been the largest live stream I've had in a while. Thankfully, the chat hasn't gone crazy where it has, and it's just so slow where I'm at that it just hasn't updated itself. Hopefully everything's good. With about a max of 115 people watching at one point. So I'm grateful for you all for joining me. Thank y'all very much. Y'all have a wonderful New Year's, and hopefully I will see you all in 2026.